Okay, so shall we get a little bit of an update this week, Dave, on progress? And then we can kind of maybe I can talk a little bit about what's coming up in the near future, and then we can open up the floor to questions from the community.
Yeah, so as you've all probably noticed, we've started our Altered Education series this week, where Carmen and Lenny are releasing some infographics on how the platform and protocol works. Um, the um, the design and a lot of the development behind these mechanics is either complete or well underway. Um, and some more details will be released as the week goes on, leading up to the drop of the boxes. Um, if you've got any questions, we'll be running these AMAs weekly until we drop. So I expect as those infographics come out that a lot more questions are going to pop up, which is great. The artwork is looking fire, and I can't wait until we get some of that out to you guys. The 3D modelers are working really hard on getting some really awesome curated pieces out there, and hopefully soon we'll be able to start chucking those in the leaks channel for you guys to consume.
Yeah, so I think the phase now is getting into ramping up community, and part of the altered education is to give you guys the tools to start to talk about ASM more with your communities and explain what's going on. It is obviously quite a deeply technical project compared to other NFT projects, so we want to give you the ammo to go and have some intelligent conversations with people until we can install an ASM in your brain that can do that for you. Um, the the Altered Education series, if you have feedback on it or if it still isn't making sense, then please do drop Carmen and then Lenny a note so that they can keep improving that. We want to keep kind of making sure that the content's hitting the mark and that everyone has really got their heads around it. In the feature in the next week or so, we'll be releasing drop mechanics for the initial altered state machine NFT drop, and explaining how this drop series will work. David, I think you mentioned boxes before. I don't know if we've talked openly about that, but as a little hint, the community will be able to purchase a toy box, and in that will give you the rights to minting both AFA All Stars and your first ASM brains. The full details of that will come out hopefully during this week, with a drop date to be confirmed on the website with a countdown, so can start to kind of get geared up for that. We're hoping for that drop to land in the kind of middle of October is the current target. And what that will do is kind of get you ready for the next stage of AFA All Stars character minting. And we're taking a two-step process in this primarily to help prevent gas wars on character minting day. I know there'll still be quite a rush and a demand. We can't stop that from happening, but we want to give people the opportunity to be considerate about the process they go through for character minting, because it is quite a new process and an exciting one compared to other types of character drops, because you'll be able to get the opportunity for rareness as well as personal input into the process of your character design. So really cool drop mechanic. We want people to have time to go through that process, and so we're doing this two-stage mechanic to allow for that. So yeah, more details during this week, and I think that'll be the big kind of ramp up for this week. We'll probably make some announcements this week too, David, about some of the other strategic early contributors,
Oh yeah.
and some big names coming out this week. So stay tuned for our channels on those announcements, because that will give you an idea of the scope and scale of the altered state machine ecosystem that we're building out with those partners. So yeah, keep an eye on Twitter and see those new announcements for partners coming out too this week. So pretty big week for us in terms of releasing more details to the community. Hope you guys get all the information you need to help grow the altered state machine community leading up to the first drop. If you're not getting what you need, please let us know. I think that's probably it for updates this week. We can turn the floor over to questions.
I'm super stoked about those partnership announcements. I can't wait to get it out to you guys. It's fucking fire.
Hey everyone, how you going?
Good, mate. How are you?
Good, thank you. Just a couple of questions, and it's been asked 100 times. But is there going to be a whitelist process for your early adopters? I know you're going to do something for them, but how's that going to look?
Yeah, I think that process should be going live shortly, and there'll be a new altered state machine bot in Discord to help through that process. So stay tuned to the Discord for details on whitelisting, but we're keen to reward all our early community members.
Yeah, we want to get that done before the hype gets too big, so that you guys can take advantage of it, and and show that we really appreciate your support so far.
Excellent. And when it comes to training our agents, how labour intensive and time consuming will that be, and what is the process to train our agents?
Yeah, I really like this question because I'm super fascinated with the gamification of machine learning, and personally I like to get really deep into it, but my entry point to this was a game called Black and White by Lionhead Studios back in the early 2000s, and that was super abstracted, and you interacted in really simple ways. That was super fun, and I want to have that sort of easy path for people to get introduced to the idea of it. So for the aphid game, for example, it'll be as easy as sending your little guy off to a gym to go and train, and that's just a click of a button. The gamification piece is assembling your team, how you want it to look with the different traits and personality traits that you want them to have, and then seeing what sort of combinations of strategies come out of that. But you can imagine future games that might abstract some of those machine learning mechanics a little bit more to the users as it makes sense within the context of the game world, which would be really interesting. I'm looking forward to those ones personally. But I guess the answer to that is it can be as complex as you need it to be for that game and what you're trying to express to a user.
Yeah, and to add to that final part is the first experience we're designed to be really low, low level of skill required, almost no skill required to go and train your ASMs, because the idea of AFA is to demonstrate how all the bits come together and then allow people to kind of increase complexity on top of that. So it'll be the simplest form of that experience. You'll be able to click a button and your agent will go train. And then as you learn, discover, design mechanisms within the game, you might get more sophisticated at which agents you want to train for which types of roles, and then switch those around with your team as you play games in the leagues.
Yeah, and I think that's not going to mean that there's no opportunity for mastery there. I think games that create that wonderful balance between easy to adopt and challenging to master sort of are the most interesting ones. So we want to make this a sort of easy entry point, and then the mastery will be around assembling teams with specific traits to see how they perform and see what happens. So if we can strike that really good balance between an easy on ramp and an interesting mastery path, I think we'll be doing quite well.
Excellent. That sounds good. And sorry, just one last question. frame and the memories, are they two separate NFTs that will be interchangeable between different forms or avatars?
So we've for the current proposed frame spec that we're launching with, the memories will be closely tied to the frames.
Okay.
We kind of thought on this a little bit, but the memories are specifically trained with specific traits. So their interoperability on their own is not that high. So they'll go along for the ride with the frame or
With
the
the
brain.
frame.
So we're calling it the brain now.
Okay.
Which
Yes.
makes a lot of sense. But in the future, other frame specs might be able to decouple those things if it makes sense.
Yeah, I think for most of the use cases I can imagine, and bearing in mind other people probably have bigger imaginations than me, you'll almost always want to have memories linked to brains, because brains is the object which becomes valuable for trading purposes, because the memories themselves are kind of tied to that genomically. So I think we'll always see, there probably will be other use cases, but I think the de facto model will be that memories stick with brain NFTs.
Great. And if you hold let's just use fluffs as an example, a X number of fluffs, and you're training them to do a certain task that doesn't require you to be present, am I able to duplicate a frame?
So we'll talk a little bit more in future releases around the mechanics of frame breeding, and there'll be two kinds of mechanics out there. We've already, I think, spoken a little bit about the notion that if you train a brain up to being, a very capable one in a specific task, then you'll be able to monetize your work by creating variations of that brain. But this exact mechanics of that we have designed, but we don't want to communicate yet because it's not the right time to talk about those things. I think the best time to talk about it will be when we get closer to releasing the interfaces for it, so that we can explain how it works and people can play with it.
Sure. And I guess the other side of the coin is you just have to mint more brains for multiple avatars.
Even that process, I think, there'll be two kind of dynamics at play, right? One will be minting virgin brains because of the ability to get new personality matrix mixes. So you'll want to keep kind of going through that process to mint new brains, because you might get a rare personality matrix. And then secondary will be replication, and taking brains that have done well at a task and being able to create variants of those. And there'll be a nice tension in our economic model between those two mechanics to manage supply and demand really well.
Sure. And promise, last question, because you keep bringing up new topics.
Maybe come back, because I know some of the other guys have been waiting.
Go for it.
For a little bit, yeah. Mr. Meridian.
Yeah, thanks. It's nice to meet all of you.
Yeah, you too.
I've been following you guys for a while, and I'm really excited for this. LV50 asked a bunch of the questions I had, but I guess one of mine that I've got is just around, I'm excited that there'll be some sort of whitelisting for early adopters, but I'm curious about kind of initial quantities, that sort of stuff that we may be looking at, how many there'll be in this Genesis drop, that sort of stuff.
So all of those details hopefully we'll be able to release in this coming week. I don't know if you caught the initial intro, but the website for the countdown to the first Genesis mint will be up, and that will contain all the mechanics. So I think in terms of directionally before that alpha drops, we want to make sure that there's a good tension between the number of people who can come in and play the game. The second attribute would be the demand for brains, and the minting mechanics around brains. And then the third would be making sure that the population allows for games to be played. So if you think about the idea of AFA is that it's a teams versus team game. So you want enough characters to have enough teams out there, not just individual characters for avatars. So think about team mechanics more than avatar mechanics, I think is the way to think about it.
Yeah, yeah, that's understandable. One thing that you said previously was about, the potentiality of having a rare frame, that type of stuff. How, when it comes to like the secondary market or things like that, I mean, we may know how intelligent it is, but how will that be conveyed outside of, my knowledge, just knowing what it's capable of? Will that be...
Yeah, there's two things that you'll be able to judge a brain on. So one will be the heat map, which represents their personality, and that will be like quite a visual thing that people can start to get familiar with. Oh, you've got traits in this area and that are strong, in this area that are weak. So that'll be one thing. And then the second thing will be if we look at like environment specific things, then you would see, for example, that this character was a leader in scoring goals or in winning matches, or AFA specific characteristics within the AFA environment that people would desire and want to be able to trade on.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, I'm really excited.
Yeah, cool. Cheers, man. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me up. Yep.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, Chimpanzee. Hey, I wanted to talk about something we spoke about last week, which was stadiums.
Yeah.
In real life, stadiums make a lot of their money through advertising and sponsorship. Would we be able to, if we owned a stadium in the game, be able to sell advertising space?
I don't want to drop too much alpha, but we have thought about this in our design. Let's just say that.
Okay, sounds good. Promising.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting opportunity. As more and more eyeballs kind of come in to watch these games, I think it could become quite a valuable, piece of sub real estate within the real estate of the stadium.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's also, you can imagine all the other kinds of things that go around stadium mechanics as well. Merchandise, for example, or beverages and refreshments. There's all these kind of different things that you could think about maybe having digital representations of those mechanics inside of the game environments, tickets to the stadiums, all those kinds of things.
So would we be buying the stadium as a separate NFT from the forms, the brain, the memory, everything else we've discussed? Is that like a piece of real estate that would buy?
Yeah, well, to be released, let's say. It's being determined in the mechanics, but we don't want to give all the info out at once.
Great, okay.
Yeah. But it will be a distinctly kind of ownable asset, let's just say that.
Cool.
Thanks so much.
Hi guys, are you there?
Hey.
Yeah, hi. How are you?
Good.
Right.
How are you?
Good. Hey, I was just wondering, with the brain mechanics and the tokens, is it going to be sort of like cross standard? So are you going to be doing more than just ERC 720 whatever? Are you going to be doing like other ERC tokens and also other, say, platforms like Solana and that sort of thing?
Yeah, the protocol's designed to be platform agnostic. So we definitely want to extend to other chain environments to support different kinds of use cases. I mean, initially, the first mint, the Genesis kind of mint, will be ERC 721, and the DAO is going to exist on Ethereum mainnet. I think in the last call we mentioned that we're already working with some other Ethereum adjacent chain environments, and so I think some of the announcements coming out this week will give a little bit more of a flavor on that, as well as the idea of cross-chain DAO governance as well. So we've been working on that. So yes, multi-platform support and extensible protocol has been part of the architecture design.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah, and I think you'll kind of see this emerging as a de facto mode or model for building decentralized apps. And the reason for that is, if you look at traditional application architecture, what you will see is behind the scenes, even though an app like Uber, for example, looks like a seamless kind of experience to the user, behind that there'll be a dozen different cloud environments with application, micro applications distributed on different kinds of clouds for different kinds of performance metrics. So the payments part of the Uber experience will be on a different cloud to, say, the routing engine matching part of it. And it's natural that would happen because applications are good on different kinds of infrastructures. And so when we build out the universe, we'll be targeting parts of that user experience on different blockchains, because blockchains are the clouds, and each one has different kind of performance attributes that are suitable for that part of the application.
Right, excellent. Are you looking at different marketplaces as well, sort of like Wimey?
Yeah, definitely.
So
definitely. And I mean, out of the box, we're looking to support our friends over at the Universe XYZ. So we'll be working with them to make sure that ASM assets and AFA assets show up in that environment really well. Obviously, ERC tokens can trade on OpenSea, and as we kind of look at extending past that first drop into other ecosystems, their marketplaces are going to be targets for that as well.
Unreal, guys! You thought of everything.
Yeah,
good stuff. Right, thank you.
Cheers.
Afternoon, everyone. Thank you. But I've got two quick questions. I think they'll be quick. So the first thing is, coming at this from a sort of I'm not a coder or anything like that. Will it be sort of a no-code, low-code environment for me to be able to train my brain with regards to what I want it to do? But then also, would I be able to then present stuff to the DAO to be able to vote on future attributes that might be available?
Yeah, totally. Both cases are true. Like your experience in training in AFA will be literally clicking a button that says train. That's all you'll have to do. Cool. And okay. And then the DAO is exactly for that. David can kind of talk you through the first frame spec, but also the process for DAO governance around frame specs.
Yeah. So the first game spec that frame spec that we're releasing, or we're calling it a brain now, contains the genome matrix, which is the driver for attributes within a game environment, and also can apply quite broadly across metaverse environments as well. So we've kind of designed this one first with AFA in mind and with metaverse interaction in mind. Later down the track, we've sort of cogitated over a whole bunch of DeFi use cases and digital twin use cases and a whole lot of others that might need a different frame spec for that. And the process will be, we've got an RFC process in the DAO where you submit a proposal and the DAO votes on sort of spooling up a new frame spec or brain spec.
Oh, some of that stuff I didn't quite understand yet, but I'm going to try.
So basically, simply, you can click a button to train, and if you've got ideas for a frame spec, all you need to do, or brain spec, is all you need to do is make that proposal through the DAO and then get the community input on it and put it to a vote.
I'm I'm looking forward to all this stuff, and I am watching the education and reading the education several times to try and make sure I get it. Second thing I wanted to ask was around you meant now I think on the last one you mentioned things like trading cards and that sort of stuff, or maybe this has been on other calls that I've heard you guys speak. Are we thinking about, right, if we've got a really cool feature that my AI has got, I would be able to maybe even create my own trading cards, NFTs, videos, whatever, to be able to then sell in my own marketplace because my artificial intelligence player is just so cool.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's completely up to your own creativity. And once the genome spec is out there, we fully expect other game developers to be working on integrations for Altered State Machine into their existing or new games.
I'm
Brilliant.
really excited to see what the community comes up with, the game dev or indie game dev community comes up with. There's so much creativity in that space, and once we release the tools, I think we're going to see some really awesome stuff come out.
Great, looking forward to it. Nova, thank you very much. Guys, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Hello?
Hello.
Yo, hang on one moment. I can't hear you. That's all right. I'm in my car. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. Dude, I don't really have a question. All I wanted to say was like, holy shit, man, my brain's like blowing. I can't imagine this is actually happening, eh? All I wanted to say was huge, massive thanks. This is so freaking cool. And you guys are legends. And yeah, well, first of all, I hope I get whitelisted, and second, yeah, I just think you guys are legends. Actually, I do have one question. Now, can the brain can that be used for multiple assets? So that one brain, let's say I've got multiple fluffs, can I use that for multiple fluffs, that one brain?
Yeah, so you can slip. Right, go, Dave.
Okay. Yep. So that's the design of the initial frame spec. We wanted it to be interruptible between worlds.
Cool.
And absolutely, yeah. So there might be a separate fluff game that you want to drop your AFA, the brain that you're using in your AFA character into, because
David, this isn't the Fluff Alpha channel.
Yeah, no. It's an example. It's an example. Just an example. There might be another game from another project that you might want to drop your brain into, that is a fast player in AFA. He's fast and he's strong, and we want it to, we've built it so that you'll get that same experience with that player or that frame in a different body, and that could be any kind of NFT project, whether it's bunnies or not. I don't know.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate it. It's so freaking cool.
Thanks, sir.
Hey, I'm also in the car. My name is Zhenya.
Hey, Zhenya.
Hey, Zhenya.
Hi. So just to follow up on that Fluff Alpha, so sorry, but I missed the beginning, just the first couple of minutes. So we were told that Fluffs in partnership with ASM will get their own brains. Is that correct, that we would have to transfer the AFA brains into Fluffs, or will there be a separate drop? And I apologize again if it has been answered already.
Yeah, so brains are naturally interchangeable between what we call forms, and forms are the body or the avatar. So if you have an AFA brain, you can use that in your fluff. There's no kind of boundary there, or no need to get a second one to do that with. So they're totally interoperable. And our kind of collab with the non-fungible labs team in Fluff World, we'll get more details out to Fluff holders on that. But you can be sure that Fluff community members will, be part of the first cohort that'll have the opportunity to use AFA frames with their characters.
Gotcha. So in other words, we need to make sure that we get our AFA characters to get a good head start.
I mean, I think that it's fair to say the first opportunity to get a brain will be through the ASM drop mechanics, and then from there there'll be plenty of opportunities for us to further that collaboration. I don't want to kind of go into too much detail, but you definitely want to get in, if you can, on the first Genesis drop, because there's a whole bunch of additional benefits for that.
Fantastic.
Cool. Thanks, Anya.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, just curious. I don't know if it's been answered before, but how do you register for the whitelist?
Yeah, we're going to introduce a new altered state machine into Discord for you guys to interact with for that process. So that should be coming shortly.
No worries. Thanks for that.
I'm good.
Cheers.
I think level 50 was waiting. There we go.
Thanks.
Hey, bro.
Thank you very much. Hey, mate. Somebody asked the question already. It was just around pricing and volume, and we'll find that out soon. But I think you also hit the nail on the head before. Maybe next AMA. Sorry about that.
Sorry.
Maybe next AMA we get Brooks in here, and he can drop all the leaks for you guys.
There's a
smart
reason
move.
Brooks. Yeah, the reason Brooks not on here.
Yeah, exactly right. I thought so, but no, excellent work, guys. Obviously, loving everything you're doing over at Fluffs, and more than excited to get involved in this new project as well. So well done.
There's going to be some really cool things that people won't expect for the crossover between Altered State Machine and Fluffs. Like this,
great,
some hot shit.
Great, looking forward to it. Well done, and thank you very much.
Thanks, bro.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Yeah, so that's kind of the point behind the heat map mechanic. Behind it, it's just some data, and we're abstracting it as more of a heat map. The design team is working on some really cool visuals that are not just visually awesome, but also are really clear on what the different hot spots on the heat map are, for people to be able to inspect. And then the more astute users and more technical users can actually dive into the metadata themselves, and sort of pull out those numbers and get an understanding of what they look like.
Yeah, so that's kind of a key design process we're going through now, is how do you represent the complexity of a brain in a form that people can visually understand, and also in the metadata, so that your question around how can you search for a specific type of trait in a marketplace. We want to address both of those things. But it is something the team's actively on top of, and also it's a complex thing, because it's like asking how do you map the traits of your brain and put it into OpenSea.
Yeah. But we've got some cool stuff coming out around there, and those tools are not just for users, but they're for developers as well. So one of the really interesting pieces of functionality for developers is that you can have a look at the distribution of hotspots across all the frame specs that are brains that are out there within a specific spec, and then use that data to inform you how you should map them into your game, so that you can you can have a look at what the distribution curve is going to be before you launch your game and understand what stats are going to have what impact on the gameplay, which is really cool.
Okay, so this one is hello everyone, greetings from Turkey. I'm following ASM for a long time, and my question is, do we have a roadmap, one, and which infrastructure will you use to build ASM?
So roadmap, I think, have we released the kind of stages roadmap yet?
No, that should be coming out this week.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so there'll be a roadmap coming out in this week's content drop to give the high-level stages of the kind of first part up leading up until the AFA game. And then in terms of platform infrastructure, I think we addressed this a little bit earlier, that initially the DAO and the first mint will be Ethereum based, and then our kind of overall architecture is multi-chain in terms of its design, and different aspects, I think, of different games will end up on different chains to kind of match the game style or gameplay mechanics that are required for those environments, or the training environments for those particular frame specs.
Hey there, how you going, guys?
Yeah, good.
I mean, I
Awesome.
think the other thing to note is, like, you'll see from the partners once these announcements are out in the next week, if you look across our supporting partners for Altered State Machine, you can get an idea where our attention is going to be focused on initial infrastructure targets for different parts of the mechanics.
Sneaky, Aaron.
So my question was regarding the gaming. I'm not much of a gamer, so when you've got, for example, a team of agents playing the game, will you be one of those games and all the rest of your ASM agents play without you, or how does it actually work?
So the AFE, in respect to the AFA game, that's all fully autonomous. So they'll all play on your behalf autonomously. We can see use cases for people who want to play alongside their agents, or have agents in the game as companions or NPCs, which really cool. I'm looking forward to seeing some of those come out. But AFA will be just machine learning versus machine learning.
Okay, so the point's not so much to actually be playing the game, but like, or do you watch it, or?
Yeah.
So the game. Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
Sorry, yeah, just like you watch a soccer match, or a football match for our European folks on the TV, or you watch a Twitch stream of someone playing a game, it'll be the same sort of experience there. But the gamification is the assembling and training of a team.
Cool.
Yeah, yep, and that's kind of the mechanism discovery part is the gamification.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. So that's where the excitement comes from, actually developing your teams and being strategic.
Yeah. So there's kind of like three layers, I guess, of metagame. You have a trading game, which is acquiring the best assets, either the assets you like the look of, or assets that allow you into specific levels of the game, or assets that have the right brain characteristics for your gameplay strategy. And then there's the team kind of assembly mechanics, which trying to put together the right mix of brains to play the game. And then you've got the kind of direct challenge mechanics. So the person you're fighting against, there's a gameplay in that, and winning in that environment. And then there's the mechanism discovery around your characters as they grow and learn new skills. So like when they go to train and they come back and you're like, oh shit, this guy can do this thing now. Okay, what does that mean for the rest of my team makeup? Or do I need to go and find a new character to match that style or something like that?
Yeah, genius. Okay, and so then when it comes to playing the game, like, can you just sort of semi-fast forward them, or do you have to sit there and watch, like, how long do they go, kind of thing?
So the
We'll have-
training is hyper time, but the gameplay is you can
real
watch
time.
it in real time. But games can happen when you're not there, so you can put your team up to be challenged,
Oh, yeah.
and you can just go back and review those games afterwards.
Amazing.
Yeah, and the style of the gameplay is initially is time limited. So there'll be an outcome within a specific period of time.
Okay. Brilliant. Thanks so much. And yeah, this has completely overtaken my life. So thanks for that. Cheers.
Thanks.
Hey, sorry, I don't mean to hog all the time, but I had a question.
Okay.
The DAO's been brought up a couple of times, and I know there's token. I'm curious about the different ways to earn that token, and I haven't read back through the white paper since I initially read it, and I'm just trying to see if there's some sort of staking of other tokens or of our brains or what that's going to look like.
Yeah, so we'll, as part of this roadmap release this week, there'll be some high-level details around that. But the intention for initial token distribution is through liquidity mining, and the exact pools. Sorry, you're Can you mute? Sorry, thank you. And the exact pools that will be available for that will be told ahead of the yield mining event. And we think this is the best way to get kind of more organic, natural price discovery from people who are committed to the protocol's long-term success. And there'll be other opportunities after that, obviously, for earning ASTO by playing the games, for example, or other community-driven initiatives that the DAO might start to vote on and release as well. There's a decent-sized pools allocated for getting community involvement in the ASTO protocol.
That's exciting. Any idea of what those tokens will be yet, or not yet?
I mean, there'll be some fairly obvious ones, obviously, to kind of maximize capital in the pools, and then will be some friendly projects that are aligned to our ecosystem that will definitely be partaking in them.
Cool. One other quick question is that I don't know if it's been said. How many little puckers are we going to need to play in a game?
Yeah, targeting.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Okay, we're targeting a team of 4. Seems to be the most sort of interesting balance between team sizes at the moment. That is not to say that we couldn't have different team sizes for different classes of games going forward. That's up to the super smart machine learning guys to figure out.
Awesome. I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to all of this. It's mind-blowing thinking about all the things that we potentially can be doing. So really excited.
Awesome.
Cheers, man.
Thanks, bro.
I'll leave it to you.
Well, so will I be able to rent my jetpack? And if so, how would that work in terms of lending and still owning? So that's a Jadu question.
Yeah, I think that's probably better addressed actually in the InterDAO Discord, because they're all about the renting and mortgaging and lending of digital assets, and they're a friendly project to us. So we hope to be using some of the InterDAO mechanics in our altered state machine. You can kind of imagine people be able to rent their stadium out, or perhaps mortgage their stadium, those kinds of things. So maybe jump across and we can put a link in our Discord questions channel to the to the InterDAO Discord, and you can go and jump in and ask more details about it there.
So can we learn more about the gym environments? How can we build our own? Can we extend common frameworks like OpenAI Gym or others?
So the gyms environments, what we're doing is we're going to bootstrap the platform with our own cloud-based service to begin with. And then on the roadmap, decentralized gym training is not too far behind that. So we want to take advantage of all the GPU compute power that's going to be available out there once Ethereum moves to proof of stake, and make sure that we have a use for that lined up for ASM protocol as soon as possible.
So, are the brains and container NFT limited? The question is, where will we need AFA NFT? Well, will we need AFA NFT and Fluff, or is there an in-between stage that we can participate in? Or are you saying that the ASM NFT drop will include the brain and your avatar? Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. So the first, all the kind of more details about how the ASM drop will come out this week, but there are distinct character collections between the two projects. Obviously, Fluffs have their own avatars and their own kind of world characters building out from those, and then Altered State Machine has its first native avatar, which is the AFA All Stars. So those are the kind of forms which are pluggable into brains, and brains from Altered State Machine will be pluggable into Fluffs, and we're working on some really cool applications that are Fluff specific applications for those brains. Whether Fluffs come in and play inside of the AFA game or not, I think that's an unresolved question long term, but short term it'll just be AFA All Stars that will be participating in the AFA game. We'd love to see other characters join long term, but that'll probably be something we put up to the ASTO vote inside the Altered State Machine DAO environment, because they really need to make those more economic decisions for their characters and their protocols. But like we've said all along, there's a very close collaboration between Fluff World and Altered State Machine. We will have some unique and very interesting use cases for ASMs within the Fluff World environment that are totally kind of locked into the Fluff World lore and narrative and gameplays that exist in that space too.
Hi guys, just a quick question on the gym training.
Cool.
If we're sending our ASM agent to the gym for training, is there a cost? Is there a fee that we pay for this?
Yes. So think of it kind of as proof of intelligence mining. So there'll be a fee for using that compute power, and we'll make sure that it's sort of balanced to make it valuable enough that people provide compute power, but not too high a barrier for entry that people can still participate and get their agents trained up.
Cool. That's it.
So I think we'll make it super easy in the early stages while it's self-hosted. Obviously, each time you save a memory, that will cost some ASTO in order to lock it into the protocol as a new memory on your NFT. And that's one of the key kind of token mechanics of the ASTO token. The training spaces architecture over time, we hope to create in a fairly lightweight and highly decentralized manner, which means that people can provide infrastructure or self-host training on their own existing hardware if they have it. That's the kind of the goal of the protocol. It's a little bit more complex to orchestrate that, and so we're bootstrapping it to start off with our own environments.
Cool, thanks.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm so excited to hear everything that you had to say today. And you guys have clearly been so thorough and intentional and thoughtful with everything that you've planned out for this project. I was wondering if there's any help that you need from the community or any ways that those of us with more unique or rare skill sets might be able to contribute, or should we just wait kind of for the DAO?
No, I mean, like, honestly, if you've got ideas or things you think you can help us with now, like, hit up one of the mods and we're happy to have a chat through all of that. Like, all of these, any successful project in this space is about community collaboration. So we don't have all the answers. We've thought about a bunch of important stuff, but there are plenty of things that we don't, we might not be the experts in, or where we need community support to help activate. So please reach out. We're very open to those conversations. I think the most important thing right now is getting our community comfortable and learning about what it is that Altered State Machine does, and then helping communicate that to the rest of the world is the kind of key step right now.
Wonderful, wonderful. I will certainly reach out. Thank you.
Yeah, cool. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, if we don't have anyone else, we'll go to the next question. So the community will vote to add new frame specs, I'm assuming, meaning mapping traits to work with the specs of other community avatars. How will this voting happen?
So the voting will be done on the DAO, but the first frame spec that we're releasing, the gamification of machine learning frame spec, already works as interoperable across different use cases. In the future, as I was saying earlier, we've thought about a whole bunch of use cases where the frame spec needs to be a bit different, and those proposals will be put through to the DAO and be voted on by their stakeholders.
Hey guys, humbled and honored to be here. So
hey,
I had a
Hey,
question.
thanks, dude.
Yeah. So I had a question. So it's a 4-player team, but what if you only can afford 2 players? How can you play without having 4 players? Can you combine with someone else who has 2, or how would that work if you don't have all 4?
I think it's a good question. Initially, to keep things simple and to keep the time to deliver the first version down and complexity down for that, you'll need all 4 characters in your wallet to play. I can imagine, decentralized systems are great for this kind of mechanic where you could pledge individual characters to the same game and collaborate with somebody else, but that would have to be a later stage addition to the protocol. We are going to make it affordable to get your first character set and your first team set. It's not a cash grab. So yeah, I think your best thing to do is get your first pack, which will get you set up for your first team.
Awesome. Makes sense. Thank you guys.
No problem.
Cheers.
Okay. So data sets are core, right? So is there thought around how we can feed ad hoc data sets to brains without being data scientists?
Yeah, I think we've addressed this one a number of times today around how easy it is to train, and that stuff's kind of up to the game and world environment that's using the ASM protocol. How much of those mechanics they expose to the end users. And I've kind of said myself, I can't wait until we see some projects that get a bit more complex around the machine learning mechanics that are exposed to the users for nerds like myself. But AFA itself will be fairly simple, just a click of the button to send it off to training.
Yeah, and I think in terms of data, that's a question that's come around before as well. So the first experience with AFA is your agents learn through experiential learning. So there's no data required to train it with. It learns by playing the game, and then in other applications or other brain specs, you might have an outside data requirement for those types of use cases. One of the use cases we're working on with Fluff World requires a data set, but we're sourcing that and we're feeding it to the brains to help them learn that skill. So developers will be able to choose the method for training, the type of training model, and then if they need data for that, how they acquire and put that data into the system. Yeah, so the linking of avatars to brains happens in a game environment, and yeah, it'll be through the wallet that that asset exists in. So perhaps if you're on Ethereum, you might use MetaMask, or you might use Silo or something like that. If you're on a different chain, or those assets were on a different chain, you might use the wallet from that chain. So yeah, so the linking happens in the application environment as opposed to at the protocol level.
I've got one here. Can I train my brain to run a Z stable? We hope so. That would be very cool.
Yeah, I think that this Z style game is a really interesting opportunity for AFAs for altered state machine brains, because if you look at the way Z currently works, it's kind of like a random chance based on some kind of randomizer that goes behind the scenes and looks at the traits of your NFT. Whereas with an altered state machine driving your horse, you actually have a real race. It's not just a random probabilistic maths race. It's actually a race, and you can do the same kinds of things. You can breed, you can inherit genetics through the intelligence mining process inside of the altered state machine. And so you could imagine a more engaging version of Z-Run that assets themselves were factors in the outcome of the game, and it wasn't just probabilistic. I think it'd be really exciting to go down that path, and we've already started to have some conversations with game builders like Zed about what that might look like.
Torah Bits has got their question in the text chat. So, hey guys, will there be earning mechanics for AFA games right away, and might be an attractive way to attract new folks to the project?
Yes, 100%. Yeah, cool. Thanks, everybody.
And I'm likely to accidentally leak something on these AMAs, so you're in the right place. I got a little bit of Brooke in me, I think. Cool.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.